What's going on, guys? Andrew Piluk Hockey here, back with another video, and we are here, the third round of the NHL playoffs, and you guys can see on the screen, it has just been a absolutely wild ride. These NHL playoffs have been unpredictable. 2019 has been a ton of fun, lots of great hockey on, and it's just been nuts. I mean, teams that you would think would be going all the way to the Cup final have been eliminated, and that's what makes the NHL so exciting. So before I get into these predictions, let's just do a quick recap. I mean, you can see it. Nashville versus Dallas. Dallas moves on, knocking out the 1 seed. You had Winnipeg at the 2 seed versus St. Louis, one of the best stories this year, as I've said before. St. Louis knocks out Winnipeg, so 2 strong teams out right out at the beginning. Then you had Dallas and San Jose, or in St. Louis, in a great series, and St. Louis moved on, again, continuing that great story. Then we had Calgary versus the Colorado Avalanche, and in one of the craziest series that we'll probably see in a while, I didn't expect Colorado knocking out Calgary. They moved on. San Jose versus Vegas, another really good series, a nice little rivalry there, and some controversial stuff there, but San Jose ultimately moved on. And obviously the Colorado Avalanche and San Jose series was a back and forth, pretty nuts series that seen San Jose walk away there. So obviously we're now with San Jose and St. Louis on the west side. On the east, we had Tampa Bay getting swept by the Columbus Blue Jackets. I mean, who's seen that coming? I don't think a lot of people did. Then we had Boston versus Toronto in a very chippy back-and-forth series where Boston ultimately took that series, one of the great teams in the playoffs for the past, 10 years. I mean, Boston's just one of those teams, even when you don't expect it, they just come through. Then we seen Boston versus Columbus. Boston kind of dominating a little bit in that series and moving on. Then another great story, Carolina coming into the wild card, defeating the Washington Capitals to move on. Another 1 seed knocked out. We had the Islanders sweeping the Pittsburgh Penguins, one of the best depth teams in the NHL, one of the best teams in the past 10 years. Again, just a team that knows how to win. You can go past 10 years too. They've just been incredible. Of course, we've got the Islanders versus the Carolina Hurricanes, and Carolina shocks the world again by sweeping the Islanders. I thought the Islanders were a team that could win the Stanley Cup the way that they looked in round 1. So now we're here. We've got Carolina versus Boston, St. Louis versus San Jose. 2 of these teams are going to be in the Stanley Cup final, and they all have great stories to tell. So let's start it off with the Boston Bruins versus Carolina series. Both taking pretty awesome paths to get here. Boston, like I said, a dominant Stanley Cup playoff team in my eyes, a team that can beat you in all assets of the game. And let's just quickly take a look at some of their points. So Brad Marchand leading the way, 13 points in 13 games. He's had some crazy moments already, not just on the ice, but off the ice, doing interviews and stuff. But regardless, the guy puts up points. And would I like to see maybe him slow down a little bit on the antics? Yes, but that's a part of his game, and he does it well. 13 points, 13 games. He's clearly a good player, and nobody should be saying he's a bad player, because you're wrong. He's a great hockey player. David Pastrnak, 13 games played, 11 points. The guy just knows how to fill the stat sheet. David Krejci, 10 points in 13 games. Patrice Bergeron, one of the best two-way players in the game, one of my personal favorite guys to watch, even though I'm a Leaf fan. 8 points in 13 games. Charlie Coyle, a great pickup for the Bruins. Absolutely fantastic. 8 points in 13 games, and he's been all over the place doing good work for them. Torrey Krug, 8 points in 13 games. McAvoy, 6 points in 13 games. He will be out for Game 1. DeBrusk, 5 points in 13 games. They want him to step up a little bit in this series. Same thing with Johansson. Grzelcyk has been fine. Danton Heinen. These guys just have to get some more depth scoring here. Charles had 3 points in 13 games. I don't think he's been as active as people figured he would. And of course, Tuukka Rask, who has been brilliant for Boston, 13 games played, a 2.2 or a 2.02 goals against, and a .938 save percentage. He's been killing it. He has a shutout as well. Going over to the Hurricane side, Jacob Slavin, who is a great two-way defenseman. He has 11 points in 11 games played, really leading the way for them with the assists. Of course, all 11 points are assists. He's doing fantastic. Teuvo Teravainen, 9 points in 11 games. Warren Foegele, a guy who I think he's been good, but kind of came out of nowhere in these playoffs and proved some people wrong. He has 9 points in 11 games. Jordan Staal, 9 points in 11 games. Sebastian Aho, 9 points in 11 games. Dougie Dougie Hamilton, 7 points in 11 games. Justin Williams, just a playoff hero type of guy, 6 points in 11 games. Brock McGinn, 6 points in 11 games. He had that crazy double overtime winner, which was really good. Justin Falk, Brett Pesce, they're all doing their job. Sveshnikov, who has been out a little bit because of the concussion stuff after fighting Alexander Ovechkin. He has 4 points in 5 games. He's been doing really good for them. This series I expect to go back and forth. I think that they both add an element to the game where, like Boston's the more physical side, and I think Carolina can adapt to that. But I also think that Carolina, with their speed and the way that they play the game, the fun way that they play the game, Boston can also adapt to that because they did that in the Toronto series, and they also did that in the Columbus series. So I'm honestly thinking Boston's going to win this series, but of course people are going to say I'm doubting the Hurricanes again, but I just think Boston is a team that really is unstoppable at this point. I think that they're going to win the Stanley Cup. That's kind of a preview for my Stanley Cup final, but I've been wrong pretty much every prediction I've made so far. So we'll have to see what happens, but I definitely think Boston can win that series. Moving over, oh, by the way, let's just predict. I'm going to say it goes 7 games. We're going to say San Jose versus St. Louis, of course. That's next because that's the last matchup. Let's look at the points first for St. Louis. Jaden Schwartz, 11 points in 13 games. Alex Pietrangelo, 11 points in 13 games. Ryan O'Reilly, who has been great for them, 9 points in 13 games. Colton Parayko, that big body right-handed shot defenseman, 7 points in 13 games. Perron, 6 in 13. He's a bit of an agitator. Tyler Bozak, one of my favorite players, 6 points in 13 games. Tarasenko, 5 points in 13 games. They want him to get going. All of them are goals, though. He's got 5. Oscar Sundqvist, 5 points in 13 games. Vince Dunn, 5 points in 13 games. Oh, by the way, I didn't even look over the goalie stats for Carolina. Sorry, guys, real quick. Curtis McElhinney, 1.56 goals against average in relief with a .94 save percentage. He's looked really good, and so has Mrazek. The goaltending has been great for them. 2.22 goals against average and a .913 save percentage for Peter Mrazek. So both goalies have been doing their job. Back over to St. Louis. Pat Maroon has been looking really good, that overtime winner. His son was crying. That was a cool moment for him. They'd like to get some of these guys going, though. They probably wish that Robbie Fabry was playing a little bit better, but again, we'll have to see what happens. Jordan Binnington, one of the best stories this year. He has a 2.39 goals against and a .915 save percentage, so he has been fantastic as well. Moving over to the San Jose Sharks side, Logan Couture, 14 points in 14 games, 9 goals, 5 assists. He's looked unreal. Thomas Hertl, 14 points in 14 games. The Ninja Hurdle. I mean, this guy's just been fantastic for them too. Brent Burns, 14 points in 14 games, so they're getting a lot of points from their guys up at the top there. Erik Karlsson with 12 assists in 14 games. Timo Meier, 10 points in 14 games. Gustav Nyquist, 8 points in 14 games. He's looked good for them as well. Kane has 7 points in 14 games. Again, another agitator type of guy. LeBlanc, 6 points in 14 games. Mark Edward Vlasic, 6 points in 12 games. Pavelski, 6 and 8. They've got some really, really good talent over there. In goal, Aaron Dell, he came in, played a couple games in relief, I believe. But 3.33 goals against average, .861 save percentage, so obviously we're not going to see much of him. It's going to be Martin Jones's crease. He has a 2.72 goals against average with a .910 save percentage. So the goaltending has been pretty good across the playoffs, and usually Martin Jones hasn't had the greatest numbers, but he still knows how to win games. St. Louis and San Jose, I think that you got to think that this series goes 7 as well. And I'm going with my gut. I think it's going to be the St. Louis Blues. I think it could be a Bruins-Blues final, and that would be interesting. But again, any 4 of these teams, they both, all 4 of them have written their story. They all have, the rightful chance to win the Stanley Cup and to make it past this round, and it's going to be very, very fun to watch. Great stories from all 4 teams, and I can't wait to see some playoff hockey. I don't know how many of these games are going to be streaming, but I want to do a lot of them. So if you're new, make sure to subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. We're on our way to 5,000 subscribers. The support has been really good lately, and I thank you guys for that. And this is going to be fun. I can't wait to watch some of these games. Hopefully you guys will stick around. I'll see you guys in the next video or stream. Peace.